So hello and welcome to this weekly happiness question and answer live stream. I'm going to try to do a really quick intro within a couple of seconds. In a minute, hopefully, we're going to have our guest, the Buddhist monk. I'll introduce him in a minute, hopefully. But the purpose of these shows is to solve real life problems, both personal and global. The panelists today, hopefully, will be the Venerable Piyobhaso, a Buddhist monk whose temple is in Wimbledon, London, England, and myself, I follow Islam. And the format of these shows is that there will be 3 questions. The questions are in the description below. In the first half, we will give our introductory answers, and then hopefully you'll give your comments, and then we will kind of give more in-depth answers, hopefully involving your comments in the answers. And for more info, go to bigquestionsanswer.com over there at the bottom. So let's get on with it. Hopefully our guest will join us any minute. So what's the first question? Are modern women really empowered? I love this question. I love most questions, to be honest. Let me give a bit of a quick intro. Like, what does it mean to be empowered? How has a woman become empowered? Do they like have superpowers, see through walls or something? So from what I understand, oh, cool, my guest has come. Hey, great to see you here. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Adjusting your camera for me. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Can you
Uh,
hear me? Can you hear me?
yes, you can hear. You're on the show already.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
sorry for being a bit late. I didn't look at the time.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
We're really happy to see you, and always great to have you here. So anyway,
Yeah.
I've just started with the first question: are modern women really empowered? And so I was thinking, like, what does it mean to be empowered? Do they have superpowers or something? And so, from what I understand from all the conversations about this, is that it means to be able to make more money, wear anything, and generally do anything they want. That's what the idea is, from what I understand. I think it also means being tough and aggressive and generally manly. So tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me if you agree or not. So here are a couple of the main points that I want to discuss on this topic. Remember, wherever you are interested in what I've got to say, or Venerable Piyobhaso has got to say, you can comment on them and we'll try to go into those things into more detail. So anyway, empowerment, I don't think is really about rights, because women have had the right to make money, etc., for over 1,000 years, at least in Islam. It is really, I think, something that is affecting both men and women in modern societies, and that is individualism. Empowerment, from what I can really understand, if I get to the root of it, is really about just getting more stuff for yourself. It's not about love or making a better society. And this way of thinking, individualism and this idea of empowerment, which is part of that, I think, is causing depression to go through the roof. And I'll tell you what I think the alternative is. In the Quran, which is the guidebook for humanity, where God tells Muslims or anyone else who wants to listen, it says, and everyone has a goal which dominates them. Compete then with one another in good works. So imagine a world where people are competing to be nice to each other. And the words of the Quran are in Arabic, so which is a really rich language, so it's quite hard to translate into English. But when the Quran says compete in doing good works, it actually means compete and help other people in doing good works. So that's my main point. Like, don't buy into this individualism stuff, which this empowerment idea comes from. It's not really about rights, I think, okay, from what I see. And the other kind of points I want to quickly whiz through is, let's talk about the gender pay gap. Why do women get paid less than men? I'll very briefly touch into it. I think the reality is that men and women have different interests, and those interests lead men to go into more industrious jobs which pay more, and women who are more social do more social jobs. It just happens to be that the more social, loving kind of jobs don't pay as much. But does it mean women are less valuable? No, I don't think so, because I'm not a materialist. I don't value things like that. What about the relationships between men and women? I think that this idea has really ruined that. The idea of women's empowerment is not just affecting the feminist extremists who hate men, etc. like that. It's normal women getting affected as well. They think that, oh, if only I had more money and stuff like that, I would be happier. But that kind of causes tension between men and women because they put off having children. Anyway, I've said quite a lot in that little bit of time. My friend Venerable Piyobhaso, your turn.
Right, thank you for inviting me and thank you for the question. And are modern women really empowered? Well, technically, I think the modern women are more independent. So this is the truth and the fact that we have to accept. When we look at the history, it took many centuries before women have the right even to vote. But in fact, because the rules were written by the men, so I think they try to limit the power of women in specific area. Well, later on, from our understanding, we can say that in terms of intelligence, in terms of cleverness, men and women are not different, and perhaps we are different in terms of and physical aspect. But in terms of intelligence or wisdom, to me, men and women are not different at all. I just would like to um, refer to what happened when the stepmother of the Buddha asked for the permission to be ordained as a female monk. Although it was not well accepted by the public at that time, and then when the Buddha was questioned by one of his personal attendants, that if women enter the religion, will they be able to achieve an enlightenment? The Buddha said, yes, women have the quality, they have the potential to achieve an enlightenment. Well, in that case, there is no reason to stop women from becoming a monastic. And because of this reason, the Buddha allowed ordination to his stepmother. And the reason why I mention this because I just would like to emphasize that in terms of intelligence, in terms of cleverness, of wisdom, men and women are not different, and we are different physically, but in terms of wisdom or intelligence, we are not different at all. And let's talk about the power. Yeah, I think everybody has their own power. It depends on how to use that power. There is the Buddhist proverb saying that the sun has power in the daytime, whereas the moon has power in the nighttime. However, however, women women can have power both day and night. Yeah, both day and night. What it means is that in some way, when women have power, if they're able to keep the power in control, if they can use the power in the righteous way, and then that will bring the great benefits. On the contrary, if the women anger goes beyond their control, that can bring a lot of distraction or even damage. Um, well, to me, in order to to respond to the question, if modern women are really empowered, I would say that it depends on where they are. In the Western world, I thought now we have more and more working women. They don't need to rely on the husband because everyone has to work hard in order to survive. But in some country, women still need to rely on the husband or the family members. But in the Western world, I think now more and more modern women are empowered. So this is my opinion. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Alrighty, next question turning up. Let's see
Not
if it works. Yeah, it worked. It worked. Okay, so Ricky Gervais says, I would never deny your right to believe in God, in a God. I just rather you did not kill people who believe in a different God. So Ricky Gervais is an atheist comedian. That's his background. And so, yeah, great this question because there's so much to explain about misunderstandings about religion. So I'll start with a quote. I think it's a little bit long, but let's give it a shot, right? See if you and people can follow. So this is from the Quran. It says, those who have been driven out from their homes unjustly only because they said our Lord is God. And if God did not repel some people by means of others, there would surely have been destroyed the cloisters and churches and synagogues and mosques, wherein the name of God is oft commemorated. So it's like poetry. It's you kind of have to read it to understand it. But let me just summarize. This verse of the Quran is saying that if you, as a Muslim, protect a church or a temple, like a Buddhist temple or anything else, and you die protecting it, you'll be considered a martyr. So people don't know that, right? So you actually protecting other people's faiths makes you a good Muslim. So it's kind of the opposite of what Ricky Gervais is saying, but I don't feel upset from what Ricky Gervais is saying because he's just listening to what he sees on TV. Like I've got my very good friend Piyobhaso, Venerable Piyobhaso here, the loveliest guy, the most relaxed, nice, friendly person. I couldn't imagine he would be mean to anybody. And yet there are these so-called Buddhist monks in Myanmar or something who attack Muslims, or so-called Buddhists, and I say so-called because I don't believe they're really following the religion, and they've been, I think, in Sri Lanka, uh, raping and whatever the Tamil Tigers for like 20 odd years, and it's still terrible things are still going on. But I wouldn't blame the religion. The same with Christianity, the Crusaders who came for land and raped lots of people, whatever. And Jesus said, if somebody slaps you on one side, offer the other cheek. Like imagine the Crusaders followed that religion. I mean, those instructions of their own, leader, Jesus. Imagine they went into war and they went with a sword and somebody hits them on one side. They would have to go, here's the other side. But they didn't do that. So they didn't really follow their own religion. So my point is that there is a lot of misunderstanding because there are people who take advantage of a lot of ignorant people, or who almost, I would say, willfully are ignorant because they don't even bother reading their own religious text, and they go to other lands and try to rob people and rape people. And if they wanted to, they could just read, but I think it's more convenient for them, if they want to do these bad things, not to read their own religious text. So I just see this question as an opportunity, and any time people say things like this, I don't get upset. I see it as an opportunity to explain otherwise. There are lots of bad things done in the name of religion. You could say in the name of atheism, more people have been killed. So Stalin, for example, famously an atheist, anti-God, okay, killed millions of people. No one person killed more people than him. So I wouldn't say atheists are murderers either. It's just not a sensible thing. And there's so many beautiful teachings of Islam that I'm going to represent. But I say Islam, but I like to represent all religions because Islam tells me that I have to believe in all other religions, which kind of makes it really hard for me as a Muslim to attack other people's faith. But still, yes, you see on TV, there's like the 0.1% of people who claim they are Muslims and then start attacking people, and then they go all over the news. So I can understand people have the wrong understanding of Islam. But Prophet Muhammad was very kind to Christians and Jews and things like that, and didn't force anybody to change their religion. And that's what teaches in Islam. You're not allowed to change anybody's religion. It's all a matter of your own conscience. There you go. So, Mr. Venerable Piyobhaso, your turn.
Right, thank you for your question again. Well, I think the belief in God and actually comes from where we have been brought up. For example, if I happen to be born in Iraq or in the Muslim country, of course, I will believe in God. Or if I happen to be born in the Western country, for example, if I happen to be born here in the UK, and if my family follow the Christianity, of course, I will believe in God because I grew up in the environment where my family members and where other people believe in particular God. But I agree with the first sentence and by Ricky and who said that I would never deny your right to believe in God. I think no one choose go against the belief in God. Even someone who doesn't believe in God, we have no right to attack them. We have no right even to blame them, even though they don't believe in God. That is their belief. So we couldn't force the people to believe in what we want them to believe. And if we would like to persuade someone, if you would like to suggest someone to believe in God, we can try. We can try by giving them the reason, by giving them some instruction, and then leave the decision with them. Yes, for example, if someone try to convert me to, let's say, to Islam, and then perhaps the Islam Imam would come and talk to me, and until they can make me confident that okay, this is the right religion for me. By that time, I have the right to believe in God, and no one should blame me. No one should blame me because of my own decision. So to me, that we need to respect. We need to respect other people. It doesn't matter what they believe. We need to respect them as a human being, not as a believer. It doesn't matter what religion they follow, but we simply respect them as a human being, even though they are black, they are white, they are Asian, or whatever they are, but they are human beings. We choose begin with respecting each other as a human being rather than, oh, this person followed the Buddhist religion, this person followed the Christianity, and this person follow Islam or Sikhism or whatever. When we reach a certain point, and then there will be no religion because we are all brother and sister. And if we believe in God created everything. It means that even the Buddhists, even the non-Islam, they too were created by God. So they're our brother and sister. We have no right to kill those people. We have no right to attack those people, although they don't believe in something the same with us. Well, at least, at least I think everyone should have the right to believe in whatever they want, in the way that they believe doesn't bring harm or trouble to themselves, to other people. And some of them may believe in, um, for example, let's say, believe in the spirit or believe in animism. Yeah, animism. And before the Thai people professed Buddhism, before Buddhism was introduced to that region, I believe that the people in that religion follow animism. And even still today, they still like to worship the spirit or the ghost. And because they believe in the power of ghost, that they would stay healthy and their crop would be prosperous. So this is what the people believe. So we can't say, "Oh, you believe is ridiculous. You believe is stupid." We can't simply say that because they have the reason to believe in what they follow from their tradition, from their ancestor. I think respect is very important, but which is respect is also as a human being, not as a religious practitioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are great notes for me. You're helping me for my questions. Okay, cool. So the next one is, if you have a comprehensive explanation for everything, then it decreases the uncertainty and anxiety and reduces your cognitive load. Jordan Peterson. I love it. I don't know if that sounds really complicated to the views. I'm going to kind of summarize it. Basically saying, if you got the answers for everything that comes along in your life, right? Maybe that sounds like a lot, but I don't think it is. Then your life just becomes really easy and simple. Oh, cool. There's loads of comments just like coming in 1 second. It's pretty cool. I'm going to check them out in a second. But anyway, yeah. So I think that religions do provide a detailed map of everything you've got to do. And I got excited when I saw this question because I thought Jordan Peterson, who's a clinical psychologist and he's popular because he's so smart, he's made a really amazing point. It might sound like an ordinary point, but people are struggling so much because they're trying to figure out solutions to so many problems as they come along them. But people from different faiths who really practice those faiths know that there are so many rules that help them in life. So I'm just going to start whizzing through a couple and see what people think, right? So first of all, I've got to start from the Quran. So it says, this day, rather than just the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, because the Quran is like the word of God. Okay, so I like to start with that. This day I have perfected your religion for you and completed my favor upon you and have chosen for you Islam as religion. So the point of that is, there's, again, I said in Arabic it's really complex in terms of, I say rich rather than complex. When it's saying it's perfected, it means that in previous times there were different faiths that said slightly different things, like, oh, you can drink alcohol, but as human beings evolved, we need to become slightly less savage, and so we know that drinking alcohol causes a huge number of problems. So that's one thing Islam says: don't drink alcohol, you don't need it, it's not good for you, and it's going to make you fight and abuse your children and start fighting with your wife and all this kind of stuff, really bad for you. And it gives so many alternatives. So before Islam even says don't drink alcohol, the reason why people drink alcohol is because they don't know how to connect with each other. So Islam made all these different systems for saying that you must talk to your neighbors. Your neighbors have a right upon you. That's a saying of Prophet Muhammad. If your neighbors say you're bad, you're bad. If your neighbors say you're good, you're good. So it made neighbors really important. So people started connecting. Right now, the reason why people drink so much is because they're so disconnected. They don't even know their neighbors. And this is not just theoretical. On my street, I know pretty much all my neighbors. I'm probably the most friendly person you can ask, probably, in my neighborhood. Who's the most friendly person? I'll say our family, especially me, right? Let me just whiz through a few more phrases or things that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said. He said to one of his followers, men seek a woman's hand for 4 things: her wealth, her family, her beauty, and her piety. But you should put her piety first. What does that mean? People are really struggling with finding somebody who they can spend their life with. And what we do is we let our emotions take control. We do this thing called falling in love, and we put their beauty first. And then we realize that we get used to it, just like we get used to an amazing iPhone or something. It's amazing for a bit, then we get used to it. But if you put the person's personality or their piety first, then that's that's going to last longer, because you're choosing somebody who's good, right? Who's going to hopefully be good to you, and you're going to be good to them, and things like that. So let me throw in a few more in the last 30 seconds. Paradise lies under the feet of your mother. Okay, that means not literally under your feet. That means listening to your mum is gonna get you to paradise. So that makes a connection between you and your mother. I'm gonna go down the list and go to one of my favorites, because I'm an entrepreneur, right? And we solve big problems. Time's run out. Second half hour, I'll come back to it. And meanwhile, I'm going to start reading comments. Go for it, my friend, Mr. Venerable Piyobhaso.
Right, thank you. Thank you for the question. Well, to me, that I believe that as a human being, selfishness is our instinct. Because when we were born, and even when we were still a fetus in the womb, in the mother womb, we have created some kind of desire. And then when we were born, then we brought everything with us, like selfishness. And later on, we can learn to let go our selfishness, or to reduce our selfishness. There are many people who put other people first. Okay, let other people have something the best, or have something first. This happened because of their, I believe, in the previous life. Because in their previous life, they might have cultivated some kind of sacrifice, and so that when they were born, they have less selfishness. But still, we still have selfishness, because we tend to think about our own benefits first, our own sake first. And then when we grow up, and if we think about our benefit or our sake alone, and that can show our selfishness. So to me, selfishness should be rational, or should be in limit. Um, and with the question here by and the message, not the question, and from Jordan Peterson. Well, if we have a comprehensive explanation for everything, then it decreases uncertainty and anxiety and reduce your cognitive load. I partly agree with this method. Yes, of course, I thought that we couldn't find the absolute comprehensive explanation for everything. So there will be more and more question was when the question was answered, and then there is another question. So for example, now our role in the question of how can we beat coronavirus? Yeah, we try very hard. The doctor or the scientists try to um, and make the vaccine so that we can beat this deadly virus. But I still believe that in the future there will be another virus. So it's a kind of challenge for humankind. Um, Although we try to find the answer, but to me, that there is something that is going beyond our explanation. Something couldn't be explained in the human language. And from the Buddhist perspective, there is something that is unthinkable or unquestionable. Yes, for example, if this world is going to the end or not, if this world is eternal or not. Yeah, from the Buddhist perspective, all of this question is unthinkable or unquestionable. We choose rather focus on how can we live a good life today? How can we solve a problem today? Of course, when you have a clear explanation for something, it helps reduce uncertainty in some way. But from the Buddhist perspective, uncertainty is certain. Nothing is certain. So uncertainty is certain. And although we are sure that, okay, and this vaccination going to work for many years, and then there will be another problem. There will be another virus. So we don't know. We don't know. So the thing is, from the Buddhist perspective, nothing is certain. So we need to look at the present moment. We need to look from what happened today and try to solve the problem, try to fix the problem from its cause. This is how to solve problem from the Four Noble Truth, or and we call runs dukkha sub of problem, cause the problem, the end of problem, and how to end the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know it's very hard to keep this very small amount of time, so thank you for that. Okay, so back to our modern women really empowered. Been looking through the comments. You know, there are a couple of comments about different subjects, but not this one. So there's a couple of things I didn't quite get into, so let's get into those things. I think this whole idea of women's empowerment, I'm not against women's rights. As I said, in Islam, it was the first religion to say, oh, men and women are equal, to give power to, the inheritance rights and so many things. Islam gave that all a long, long time ago. But that was just a quick background. But this idea of the way women's empowerment has been pushed, it really, like I said before, stems from not really about rights, but individualism and even materialism. Because if you listen to what people are saying, it's like, I want this and I want that. Rather than that, as I said, I recommend people have this idea of competing with each other in doing good works, which is a verse of the Holy Quran. That is a much more productive way of living your life, because if we live as individualists, live individualistic lives, our lives are going to get worse, because as we know, in the West, the biggest killer is loneliness. And why is loneliness the biggest killer? Because we're living individualistic lifestyles. So it doesn't help pushing that sort of agenda. But getting back to relationships between men and women, this is not just causing, like I said, problems between these extremist feminists, who they call themselves feminists, but I call myself a feminist because people who follow Islam or converts to Islam, especially women, you should know that there are 4 times as many women who convert to Islam than men. It's because they feel more empowered when they practice it, because they finally get the right to be women. Because if you look at what this so-called empowerment means, it basically makes them want to be like men, be tough, be rough, make more money and all this kind of stuff. Whereas women like to be social and loving and caring. And that's kind of stuff you cannot put a price on it. Just because men happen to be more industrious, just because they're more into this engineering stuff, and this is not because women are not allowed to be engineers. Okay, they've done many social studies on this kind of stuff, what you call social psychological studies, and I can't remember the other word similar to that. Women choose to do that. When I was learning computer science, very few of the girls who were studying computer science actually enjoyed the subject. And I remember, even though it was 20 years ago, the only ones who really enjoyed computer science were the kind of maybe more boisterous ones. The 2 best computer science students were the only ones who were into martial arts, for example, right? As far as I knew. So I'm just saying that we're pushing an agenda on women that they don't like, and they like to be loving and caring. They don't necessarily want to do jobs where they make lots of money. I work as a teacher. I hear women saying, I hate being a teacher. It's so much hard work. I would love to have a man who pays my bills and I don't have to. In fact, let me just throw in another thing. Islam says women don't have to, if they make any money, they do not have to spend a penny on the household bills, whereas men have to. So if you want to call that sexist, you can call that sexist. So women have more rights in that sense than men. And the idea, very quickly, behind that is that so that women don't feel pressured to make money and to go out there, because if so anyway, you can think about that one. Yeah, and then as I say, other women who are not really behind this agenda get sucked into it, and they feel like, oh, I wish I could make more money and things like that, whereas they should probably focus on their children. And taking care of children is not an easy job and should not be undervalued. Go for it.
Yeah, I think when the times had changed and when the environment had changed, and then the role of men and women also changed. And if we use the lifestyle of the people over 1,000 years ago and to judge the lifestyle of the people today, so we can't use the context in those days to judge the lifestyle or the social context in 2021. Well, to me, although that women are not generally accepted by the public or by even by men, and because some people may think that okay, women were um, inferior in terms of intelligence or in terms of them being a leader. But what we can see today, and we have more and more female political leaders, and they have done a great job. And to me, women are better than men in many ways. Of course, they have the weakness, they have the weak point. So to me, men too have the weak point. In the Chinese belief, they have yin and yang. Yin and yang, which mean that so men and women have both advantages and disadvantages. So for the successful marriage life or the couple life, husband and wife must work together. So when I say must work together, it doesn't mean that they always do things together, but it's mean that they have to compromise, they have to adjust, they have to adapt themselves in order to learn how to live together. Because they're from different culture, and if they're from different country, it may take times to adjust and adapt. I have seen many couples who end their marriage with divorce because they are from different cultural background, they're from different religion. For example, when the wife would like to go to the Buddhist temple and then the husband doesn't allow his wife to do that. Well, we first we need to understand that people have different idea, have different belief. Again, I would like to emphasize on to respect. Although you can't force your partner or your wife to believe in, in the same thing that you follow, but we choose respect their belief. So in this way, I think women will see values in themselves. We see that okay, they have the potential, they have the role to play in the society, and if they are oppressed, so let's say over 200 years ago, and women were oppressed. Oh, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do this. You couldn't go outside. Well, in some case, there was the reason why they shouldn't do that. But in many cases, I think the women choose have freedom in the way that they are they can stay safe. I thought about one rules for the female monks led by the Buddha. Um, this rule is only applicable to female monks, but it's not applicable to male monks. So the rules say, as a female monks, you're not allowed to stay in the forest alone. You must have the companion. You're not allowed to travel without friends. I mean, you are not allowed to make a long journey alone. So you need to have someone going with you. So this rule was made by the Buddha to protect women, to protect female monks, but it's not applicable to male monks like male Buddhist monks, because for the male monks, it's okay for them to stay in the forest, but for female monks, it's not safe for them to stay under the tree or to stay alone in the forest. So in some way, I think that the rules must be applicable and must be considered according to the context.
Thank you very much. So before I get into the next thing, there's some great questions. Shah Jahan Bhakti, thank you about the women being spiritual leaders and all that kind of stuff. I want to answer it, but I don't want to ruin the show. I typed in an answer, but it didn't show. I will write an answer in the comments after the live show. Yeah. Anyway, so yes. So we're back to, I would never deny the right, your right to believe in a God. I just rather you didn't kill other people if, you know, you believe in a different God. Ricky Gervais, comedian, atheist, right? And so I want to thank my friend Piyobhaso, Venerable Piyobhaso. He was making all sorts of comments. So it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So, so for example, there's kind of lots of hidden sort of questions in this question, I suppose, or this comment. And that is one, that people just believe in a God just because they happen to be in a certain land or something. But if you look at Islam, it's the fastest growing religion in the world. And people from the West are quickly adopting it. So I don't want people to think that it's kind of hidden in this comment that you're just born into it. God question, you know, in the Quran tells you not to just copy your parents and think about your beliefs. So thank you. And there's no punishment for leaving. That's a common misunderstanding, especially in Islam. People think, oh no, if you leave Islam, you'll be killed or something. That's wrong. It's against the very basic teachings of the Quran. There's no compulsion in matters of religion. That's a quote from the Quran. Believing in God should make you realize we are children of one God. So believing in God should unite people, because like you're all created from this one God. Yeah. But you're going to start believing, you realize who is God. Like, can God be like 10 different gods? People who are coming from an engineering or scientific background will understand that there must only be one God. And that's a teaching, that's the original teaching. There's so many religions before they go into polytheism. So that's another thing. And yeah, and the reality is, that you don't see on TV, is that people of different faiths do coexist very nicely most of the time, but the news highlights the opposite. So you wouldn't know that for hundreds of years people Jews, Muslims and Christians be living together in the Middle East. For hundreds of years they lived together in Islamic Spain when Muslims ruled Spain, and the Jews were so sad and miserable. They were crying when the Christians took over, who are not real Christian, I would say, because they didn't follow the kindness that Jesus taught. Okay, when they took over Spain and murdered lots of people, including the Jews, and the Muslims were protecting those Jews because Jews had a terrible position in the rest of Europe at that time. Yeah, so that's that. And there's a thing that I really want to read. I quickly Googled. Let's see if I can do it. It's so beautiful. It's like this. This is Prophet Muhammad promised to monks or all Christians for all time. Here we go. This is a message from Muhammad ibn Abdullah. That's his dad's name. A covenant to those who adopt Christianity near and far. We are with them. Verily, I, the servants, the helpers, and my followers defend them, because Christians are my citizens, and by God I hold out against anything that displeases them. No compulsion is on them, neither are their judges to be removed from their jobs, nor their monks from their monasteries. No one is to destroy their house of their religion, to damage it, or to carry anything out from it from a Muslim's household. It's very long. I'm going to skip a little bit. No, I think I can read it. No one is to force them to travel to or oblige them to fight. The Muslims are to fight for them. If a female Christian is married to a Muslim, it is not to take place without her approval. She is not to be prevented from visiting her church or to pray. Their churches are to be respected. They are neither to be prevented from repairing them. Okay, no, and basically, and it says this should be kept to the last day. So this is a promise from Prophet Muhammad to all the Christians forever. I don't know if you understood that. I read it very quickly. Maybe I shouldn't rush so much. Please, my friend.
Right. I just would like to make it clear that for those who are not familiar with the Buddhist teaching, and many would say that in Buddhism, we don't believe in God at all. So this is wrong information. Well, there are many gods in Buddhism, and remember that Buddhism originated in India, where there are over 3 million gods are worshipped by the people. Well, first, Buddhism doesn't deny the existence of God, but the concept of God in Buddhism is different from a theistic religion like Christianity or Islam. We do believe in God, but gods were created. God were created. Um, well, to me, that in order to live together in peace and in harmony, sometimes we need to go beyond what the other people believe or follow. We just look at our neighbors as human beings. We look at other people as human beings, and we choose feel loving kindness towards them. In normal situation, as a human being, we just feel loving kindness towards each other. In the times of difficulty, for example, if our neighbors or our friends or the people we know are in trouble, we just feel compassion towards them. And in some situation, that for example, our friends or the people we know are successful in their business, or when those people are happy, we just have sympathetic joy towards them. And then in some situation, although you love this person dearly, like your son or your beloved people who happen to commit a crime. So we couldn't help much with the case because it is their own decision to commit the crime. According to the crime they have committed, they have to go to the prison or they even have to be executed. Although we did not want that to happen, but we have to accept the consequence of what they have done. And there too, I mean, those who commit crime have to be responsible for the consequence of their own action. Right. To me, that although we we can't force other people to believe in our religion, and let's say to believe in God, so we just respect them. There are a lot of misunderstanding, especially about Islam. Yeah, I was told even by the Muslim friend that, well, I was born into the Muslim family, and if I leave Islam, I might be killed. So this was told by some of my Muslim friends. But to me, that could happen not because of the religion, but because of the tradition, because of the dignity. Yeah, I think you might have heard about the dignity kid murder, to kill even your own daughter, to keep your dignity or honor. I'm not quite sure. It's happened and in Islam country. But to me, that's nothing to do with religion. But it's something to do with their own belief, with their own tradition, with their own attachment. It's for example, and if they feel that the daughter has defamed them, and then they say, "Oh, I can't hold it. So I better kill my own daughter to keep my dignity, to keep my honor." To me, that is totally wrong. So we shouldn't have right to kill anyone because of that. So all form killing is wrong. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what religion they follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so I just want to say again, I am trying to reply, but it's really weird this time. I think I have to press reply to, and it kind of goes through. But maybe I'll put comments in the message afterwards. I'll look through your live comments and answer them as well. But some great questions. I love your participation, all of you guys. I really appreciate it. It's really difficult. I've said that in a previous show. It's really hard to think of what to say. So any sort of comments and stuff, that's awesome. I appreciate that. Anyway, also I want to thank again my friend Venerable Piyobhaso. Like, he says things and he gives me ideas of like, oh, I should have said this thing. So he said, like, this is I love answering this kind of stuff. So he said that there can't be answers to everything, and I'd like to say there are answers to everything. It's all right, we can have disagree with stuff, right? And he said, what about how to beat COVID? And this is really funny that Islam teaches very specifically how to beat COVID. It says if you have a plague, and the plague just means a disease that spreads a lot. If there is a plague where you are, no, let's start with the exact order. So if you hear of a plague in a different place, don't go to it. And if you have a plague where you are, don't flee from it, which sounds really weird because you naturally run away from it and then therefore spread the disease. And this is exactly the biggest problem. And this is exactly the solution, because there are, like, okay, over here in the UK, we have a massive problem with COVID. It's going crazy, right? But right next door, there's the Isle of Man. Yes, I think it's called it's the Isle of Man, right? They don't have COVID because they just followed the rules, and loads of people are just not following the rules in this country. And I know in London, people are breaking the rules all the time, even when we do have COVID. And the disease keeps spreading. We keep opening schools, and schools have kids who are super spreaders because they don't catch the disease. They don't feel the what's it called, the consequences of the disease, but they spread it silently. And so if we had a harsh lockdown, so like some countries have, like China, New Zealand, and all these people, they just get rid of COVID. Don't necessarily need the jab and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, and so there were all these other things I wanted to cover, which I made a massive list of because I'm super greedy. And I was going to say I'm an entrepreneur, which means I'm always dealing with big problems. But even if you're not an entrepreneur, people are always suffering from anxiety. And so it comes back to the question, maybe I should have read it. Like, if you have a comprehensive explanation of everything, then it decreases uncertainty and anxiety and reduces your cognitive load, like the pressure in your brain, okay? And this is from a clinical psychologist called Jordan Peterson. Here's one way of reducing the load. If you this is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he says, concentrate duly on any one aspect of a project and the other aspects will fall into place. So what we do is when we see a big problem, we just go, oh my gosh, how are we going to deal with it? And we just freeze. But if you just say, let's just find one tiny part of the problem, what happens is that you start solving it, and then you go, oh, I've got this. When you start solving it, you realize there's another problem that you didn't notice because you were, away from the problem. When you get into it, it's like going down a path. You start understanding the details of that path, and you start solving and solving and solving. And that's how I solve really big problems. Just 5 minutes a day, I just work on this massive app that I'm making, and slowly but surely I just start solving it. But if I didn't take that attitude and I said, oh my gosh, how am I going to solve the massive problem, I would never solve the problem, right? So let me just throw in another one. Cultivate the habit of shaking hands. It will remove rancor, that means bad feelings, from your heart. That might sound like some crazy mystical thing, but it's actually based on science. That I should remember the words, but it's a chemical that makes you happy, and it's said to happen when you have physical contact. So this is 100% correct. Shake hands, it reduces the bad feeling. You can try it. Is it made up? Is it theoretical? Is it real? Try it out. There are many solutions to the world problems through Islam. Yes. Yeah, there you go.
Well, there is the famous quotation I thought from His Holiness Dalai Lama, who said that there is a solution to all problems. And there is a solution to all problems. So don't need to worry, don't need to have anxiety, because if you believe that there is a solution to all problems, there will be the solution at the end. And then if there is no solution, no need to worry again, because there is no solution. Well, this means that in some way that some problems can be solved, but some problem, in order to solve, we need to take some time. And we can't simply force the tree to grow and bear the fruit. We can't do that. Yes, for example, if you would like to eat apple and then you plant apple tree, you have to wait at least 3 years, 3 to 5 years until it bears fruit. So what I'm going to say is that although we try to find the explanation for everything, I believe that it decreases uncertainty and anxiety, because you know what's going to happen for sure. But nothing, as I said, nothing is certain. So something may happen without your expectation. This is what happens all the time. Although we expect something uh, good to happen in the next few days, even the forecast is not certain, and we have to put the forecast even every minute. Like let's say, okay, at 10 o'clock it will be raining, and then the forecast might say it now moved to 11. So what I'm going to say is that we need to understand that nothing is certain. Something happens for the reason. In order to stay calm and happy, from the Buddhist tradition, we use mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness will help us to stay at the present moment. At the same time, we can think about what is going to happen in the future. It doesn't mean that you have to stay at the present all the time. You can plan about the future, and after you finish planning about the future, and then you can come back to stay at the present moment. And no need to worry too much, um, because more than 70% of our worry and anxiety never actually happened. Never actually happened. More than 70%. Yeah. So if something happened, and then we need to make ourselves ready to inquire that the consequences. Because, for example, when you have to make a decision to do something important, to do something very, very, very important for you. And let's say if you are the pilot, so as a pilot, the life of the passengers rely on your skill. If the aeroplane has some technical problem, and then the pilot has to make a have to make a very good decision. I think everyone still remember what's happened at the Hudson River in USA, when the pilot has calculated the time, and he thought they couldn't reach the nearby airport. So the best way is to land in the river, although it was risky, but it ended up with a good result. So this means that in some way we have to take risk. So we have to be ready for the consequence. Whatever happen, I will be happy to take it. So in some case, we don't know what the consequence will be, but when we decide to make when we decide to do something, we also make ourselves ready to encounter with the consequence.
Cool. Alrighty. I'm only going to get 30 seconds for my outro. I'm going to start with thanking my friend Venerable Piyobhaso. So awesome, and your clothes are awesome. I have to say that. And thank you very much, Shah Jahan. Thank you very much, Alika. Thank you very much. Oh my God, my friend Yusuf. He's actually one of my students. Thank you very much. I'm not sure when the next show is going to be. Normally it should be Thursdays, but I'm going to Jordan in the Middle East for a holiday and I have to sort out the internet. Until then, check, please, whatever, and please like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff if you like the show. Not enough people watching the show. Please tell them about it and have a great week. Bye. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.
Bye.